All right, everybody, welcome back to the Duke Blue Devils series in NCAA 2004, and we are back. It's been a while since I recorded some Duke, so forgive me if I may be a little bit forgetful with where we left off. But what I do remember, of course, is in Fred Kirk's first year, things went well. Things went pretty decent here. 6-6 season, of course. I guess I'll flash off the schedule real quick, even though we already looked at it in the last one here, but we'll give it a quick glance over again just to jog my memory a little bit here. But we went 6-6 here. I think we did. We lost our FCS game, which was kind of the biggest thing. I'm sure the fans by this point in this stretch of games here is probably like, dude, get this guy out of here. Fire. We had another dud of a coach here. He's 1-3, and he lost to Western Carolina. We're cooked. We're dead in the water. But Fred Kirk salvaged things out here and managed to get us to 500 on the year. A couple close losses as well here. Maybe could have potentially been a better team even on top of that. So, but we will take it. And back-to-back 6-win seasons gets us up to 2-star prestige. So things are looking up in the Duke program, and now there's nothing left to do except just move on ahead into our off-season festivities now. Real quickly before we get into the off-season festivities, I just wanted to show you guys this. Look at the Sun Belt. What on earth is this? What? I'm at a loss. I don't even know how to make heads or tails of any of this. I don't even know if science could explain this. There's one team in the conference that has a winning record, okay? We'll start there. North Texas at 7-6. I guess Arkansas State is 500, but I don't think that counts as a winning record. So there's only one team above 500 at 7-6, and that's North Texas because they won their bowl game. And then 4-3 was the mark you had to hit, I guess, in conference in order to win it. And Middle Tennessee State, I guess, through some combination of tiebreakers and who they beat versus who they lost to, managed to make it happen at 4-8. This is horrendous, dude. I haven't shown you guys a lot of standing stuff. I've been recording it just to kind of pull statistically from if I need to in the other videos. But so I was going through and checking the standings and recording, and then I saw the Sun Belt, and I was like, dude, I have to chime in and show this. Also, I guess another thing while we're looking at standings real quick. The Big 12, dude, the South Division of the Big 12 is a murderer's row. Look at this, dude. Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Texas all with 10-plus wins. And then the bottom here, the cellar, just kind of really hanging on by a thread. But the Big 12 is absolutely crazy. And then also the Big East. Look at this, dude. West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Miami, and Pittsburgh all double-digit wins here, and then the rest of the conference is just really hanging on for dear life, man. So it was definitely a year of have and have-nots. I think also in Conference USA, look at this. You had 3 teams with 9 wins, and then you had 4 teams with 9-plus wins. So just crazy stuff going on in college football right now. An absolutely top and bottom kind of sport, at least as far as this season is concerned, in the sport at least. So now we are finally going to get into the off-season festivities, and we'll look at everything ahead of us now. Okay, so first things first here, obviously we have to look at our players leaving here, see what we have to work with here. Okay, so Benny Singleton is graduating here. He had a decent season for us here, but his best year is way behind him here. His best season was as a sophomore, but still had a career high in touchdowns in this season, though, that he's now leaving. And then Quentin Jordan, of course, we are losing our top receiver on the team. I think receiving in general is going to be a bit of a question mark heading forward. We're losing some of our last pieces from the year 1 teams, especially in our linebacking core. That's going to be kind of hard to replace here, but the linebacking core is going to be completely gone here, so we're going to have to rebuild that. We're going to have some pieces on the O-line that need help too, but this is not a big class that we're losing, so we finally upped our prestige, so recruiting should go a lot easier for us here. And we're not losing a ton of pieces as well. So starting running back might be a situation here. Again, we have to look at the depth chart and see what we have returning. Same with receiver. But if we could get a new top receiving recruit, like a 3-star receiver or running back, I think that would be really, really good for next season as far as our offense goes. But we really do need to rebuild the offensive line because even with the guys that we have recruited, we're still kind of behind in a lot of those positions. So we're going to be looking to see if we can upgrade that as well. But I'm going to have to be selective here because with the 2-star prestige, that just means that we probably will have a few more points and a little bit more interest from some other recruits here, but I don't think we're going to have the guaranteed swath of 5 stars that we're going to get to pick from. So I'm going to have to be pretty selective with how I use our points because I still don't think we're going to have a lot of recruits coming here, but we're going to chime into that now, and then of course I will chime back in when we have the finished results here with recruiting. Alright guys, bit of an interesting breakdown here as far as recruiting goes. Again, I've said this before with the highs and the lows. This is one of those situations where there's a lot of recruits, but they're not good. But there's just a lot. And I think for a team like ours, it's still very transitional. You know what I mean? It's year, 5 of being transitional at this point. I think for a team like ours that is transitional, it is important that we just keep bringing talent to Durham. Like we'll worry about how good it is, once we actually start winning more games. But, we just need to worry about keeping talent here. So first, let's look at who we got, first of all. So we have a slew of 3 stars here. We got Marquise Hatcher, a right guard, the 60th ranked right guard from the state here. I don't even think we needed a guard technically, but I mentioned before I went to recruiting that I wanted to beef up our offensive line, and I was able to at least get a 3-star guard, so I'm excited about what he could potentially turn into. We also got Tyson Dillard. There was actually a few highly touted tight end prospects that wanted to come here, but again, tight end was not a huge position of need, but because we had so many, I was like, well, I have to at least get one of them, because Tyson Dillard could easily be like a top receiver or even just a top blocker on our offensive line now. He's 6'5", dude. That's a huge dude. So I'm excited to have Tyson Dillard now on our squad here. And then also got a 3-star receiver. That is massive, man. I feel like we finally have like an actual good actually high value skill position prospect. It feels like we haven't had one since we got our 5-star quarterback. You know what I mean? I feel like this is the first actually good skill position prospect outside of our quarterback. So we finally have at least a decent receiver for him to throw to. So thank God. And then we also got a couple 2-star linebackers. We definitely need to rebuild the linebacking core after losing a lot of our first-year guys. So we got some of that. Got another 2-star receiver. We are loaded at the receiver position now. We might actually have our pick at who we actually want to keep at receiver for the first time ever in this series. We also got a 2-star running back. I just wanted to add some depth at running back since we did lose one of our primary contributors last season. I just wanted to kind of get at least 1 or 2 2-star guys here, just kind of keep rebuilding it a little bit. Got a 2-star defensive tackle. We did need defensive end, but not a single one wanted to come to Durham. There wasn't a single one that was interested off rip. The recruiting assistants tried throwing me a couple throughout the whole thing, but none of them wanted to come. There's one 1-star that we had a chance on. He ended up going to Eastern Carolina. And so there was nothing that I could do to fix the D-line situation. Got a 1-star center here, just a little bit of depth on the O-line. Again, some more 1-star linebackers. We're just completely loaded now at the linebacking position. So there's, again, not a ton of great guys to really hang your hat on, but some positions we were able to beef up and get some depth at that I think, I feel like we needed. You know what I mean? We need depth everywhere because the team's not that deep anywhere. So, getting some depth here and getting some good value guys here. I think there's a few starters in this class. Of the 10, I think it's 10 recruits that we have. I think there's maybe 3 to 5 actual bona fide starters right now. If you want to look at the linebacking core, obviously we'll look at the roster in a second, but the linebacking core, all these guys could probably be, starters or rotational pieces here in the upcoming season. So I think we did pretty decent there. I would look at the people we lost. I'll head down to it for a second. The recruiting assistants made this kind of weird. I wasn't looking at any of these 5-star guys. They tried throwing me some of them. I think that 3-star guard was the highest prospect I even looked at. I don't even think I was really ever in on any of these guys, none. This tackle I think I was in after. I think Ryan Whitley, I think I was trying to go after him, and he ended up going to Wake Forest. We lost him. But outside of that, that's about it. There's a lot of 2s and 1-stars that I missed out on, but they're not all that important. So we'll look at the top classes and see exactly where we are. We've kind of bounced around in the 50 to 100 range, so we'll probably sit somewhere close to that again. We're falling outside of the top 80. Oh boy, this is bad. 95. Ugh, 95 is a lot worse than I thought. I thought this was at least a little bit better. Yeah, 11 prospects. I guess it's because of the abundance of 1s and 2s that probably are really weighting us back. We didn't get a lot of prospects either, which, I thought was a bad thing when I was doing it, but again, we didn't have a lot of positional needs because, again, we only lost 5 players, or 5 or 6 guys, from the roster, so there wasn't even a ton of stuff that needed to be done recruiting-wise, but obviously because the team is bad, the team needs to get better everywhere, but the added star prestige did not, bring in as many prospects as I thought it would, so this might be a little bit of a stagnant year for us. I don't know if we can even match the 6-6, but which would be a huge step back here for Fred Kirk, but we'll see. We'll just have to keep a pin on it and see exactly what happens. So now we're going to get into the training results and see if we can get some big boosts from the guys who are already on the team. All right, so of course we got to look at the most improved so far here. Matt Klein, one of our backup quarterbacks here, up to his 68. He's probably not going to see the field, unfortunately for him. Dion Godsey is up to a 66 here. He's a breakthrough, allegedly. I don't know what the difference between these guys is, breakthrough or not. They're both 6. They've both got a boost of 6 to their overall here. Carlin Lloyd up to a 63, which is kind of nice. He was one of the worst players on the team last season. And then Wilbert Taylor is up to a 61 as well. So both of our strong safeties at least have cracked 60 now, but I think that's still going to be a pretty big hole on the roster here. Tony Darnell boosted up here into the 70 range here. Of course, Patrick Fleming is up to a 73, which is kind of massive here. Our kicker up to a 71. Why not? Our center here up to a 69. A lot of big changes here. I guess we'll flip on through. God, a lot of 60s still. We got a few 70s. Yeah, I can't wait to dive into this roster and just see exactly what we're looking at, because it's going to be important. Here we see Holman. I passed him here. Yeah, Aaron Holman's up to an 86 now. So we actually have like a good quarterback. He's a junior, so I guess depending on how good his season is this year, he might graduate early, but we could potentially have 2 good seasons. Then we also have Andrew Ellison, who's a 71 as a junior, so we should be good at quarterback for the next 2 seasons, man. It's just a shame that nowhere else on the team is that surefire, like that shirt up roster-wise. It's kind of unfortunate, but yeah, a ton of 60s. I think we finally left the 50s behind, but we still have like a ton of 60-somethings overall, and that's just, I don't know. I don't know where that puts us overall in the landscape of college football. I'm just a little disgusted. We're still under the 55 threshold, so we're not going to cut any guys. We're just going to keep them all, even if we have 6 or 7 guys at specific positions. We don't need to cut anyone, so I'm not going to, but yeah, I'm not sure where the average here of all the 60s are going to put us roster-wise, or, like talent-wise, with the rest of FBS. It's going to be interesting. I think there's probably going to be at least a solid cushion of teams that are worse than us, but I still don't know if like we're going to be like all that competitive overall. So it's an interesting thing that we have to like balance here. I talked before, I think in the last episode, about kind of like needing to compete at a certain level. Like currently we're like barely competing on the bad level, and like I want to be able to at least compete at like the mid level, you know what I mean? Like win the, like be able to win the easy games and then at least compete with like teams that are on our level, because like before we were literally like maybe we could compete with the bad games that we should win, and then we were losing the mid games like every time. So it's trying to like bridge that gap talent wise, and we'll see if we can here. But now we're going to get into the depth chart here. Aaron Holman, of course, up to an 86 is our starting quarterback. Have a little bit of good depth here, at least when you consider what Duke had when we started. Even, you know what I mean, like before the Fred Kirk era started, like it's been rough, but we finally have a good prospect there. Josh Livingston up to a 75 overall as our starting running back, and then Ryan Gallagher is a 71 behind him, so we got a little bit of depth there at running back. So this is kind of what I wanted. So we might be rotating a lot of pieces in and out this season here, or we could just give Josh Livingston a bulk of the touches here. I don't know if he's had like that much of an opportunity. So looks like in his sophomore season, or I guess his freshman season. In his freshman season, he was pretty effective there, and then last year he didn't touch the ball as much because, of course, he split time, as we saw with who graduated. So he might just be getting a bulk of the carries this year. Who knows? But Godsay and also Johnny Davis are up to 66s here. But it looks like we will be looking at fullback after the season is over, because both of these guys are seniors. And then the receiving corps. So Patrick Fleming and then Omari Smalley here, both juniors returning up to 73 and 70 respectively. I like the speed numbers for both of them too. So it looks like we have a solid 1 and 2 option at receiving. So maybe if we continue with the coaching strategy of just heavily leaning towards the passing game, because that's finally one thing that works with this offense, it might be a little bit more effective this year. I think we can probably expect that to be a little bit better, but because I don't think the O-line is good enough to really consistently run the football quite yet. So looking through the rest of our receiving corps here, look, we have 2 freshmen at 65, 64. These guys are going to be something special, man. These are the guys we just recruited, and they're probably going to be something a little bit special, but the lowest guy we have is a 62, and I like that. So I think we have good depth, at least consistency at that position. At tight end, of course, we have J.P. Kramer, who's back at a 73, and then Justin Golden is a 71 behind him, and then the guy that we just grabbed, Tyson Dillard, is up to a 67. So in a couple years, he will probably be on the field and be one of our top guys offensively. At tackle, we're running with Oliver Duncan here, the sophomore at 65. At left guard here, we have Jonathan Juneau, who's up to a 75 as a senior, so that's going to suck to lose him after the season here, but at least the left guard position is in a decent enough spot. J.J. Johnson's up to a 69 as a center here. I don't even know where the guy we just recruited is. He's not even listed. And then, of course, we have Marquise Hatcher, who's a 69. He's going to be starting. I think he's our 3-star guard that we grabbed, and he's going to start on the right side. So, remember, I was talking about we had at least 3 to 5 guys who I thought could start right now, and it looks like Marquise Hatcher is one of them. So he's going to start for us at right guard. And then at right tackle, we have Tony Darnell. So it looks like between right tackle and left guard, we've got like 2 really solid pieces, and the O-line is slowly getting there, but our two best guys are going to graduate after the season, so we're going to go right back to needing to kind of rebuild it and reload after the season. But we do have quite a bit of depth here. There's quite a lot of guys who aren't starting right now. I think, we should be all right here. These are all young guys too, so we should be okay in the coming seasons here. I think we'll get a little bit better, so maybe not this year, but next year for sure, I would imagine. At left end here, we have Evan Christensen as a 75 as a freshman. Look at this. Oh, this has got to be one of the best. I mean, potential upside. Oh my goodness, got to be one of the best prospects right now. Just right here, just period. Just heading into the season. I'm really excited about that. And then Kevin Molina as a junior is going to be a 65 on the right side, so maybe pass rush coming from the left side is going to be a little bit more dominant, which is fine. Anthony Westgate's up to a 72 defensive tackle. I like that. Cash Anderson up to a 69. So again, maybe not this year, but next year we should have a lot of depth here and a lot of position groups. Like the defensive line should be a lot better. Offensive line might be a little bit better, might take a step back, but should be consistent here on both sides of the football, controlling things on the line of scrimmage. In the linebacking core here, so Chucky Gordon, who we just recruited, is going to be a 71. He's going to be starting on the left side. We have like nothing on the left side, so it's all of our middle linebacking depth is going to start on the left side. Then at middle linebacker, we're going to have Sean Burns, a junior, is going to start as a 65. We have two juniors, so again, we might be rotating a lot of pieces on defense if that's an option here. And on the right side, we of course have Hugh Lindsey. So yeah, there's a lot of guys we could slot in and out. I don't think any of these guys are really going to be better than the other. I like how Keon McCullen's got the speed, and we might actually, I might flip him. They're both freshmen, so I kind of want to start a freshman, so I'm actually going to see if I can flip them. Yeah, okay, because I like the speed number with McCullen. I think that's going to be, or McMullen, excuse me. I like the speed number here because I think that's going to be a little bit more effective here. They're about the same size too. McMullen is a little bit bigger in terms of weight, and then Lindsey's about an inch taller, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a difference here. So I'm going to run with McMullen here as our starter because of the speed. And then at cornerback here, look at that. Solid 1 and 2 option cornerback as well. Between Joe Bentley and Darryl Stewart here, and they're both sophomores, so we have years with these guys, man. So I like the upside of this team, man. Again, probably not this year, but next year, I think we should have some pretty solid position groups. And we have a lot of depth at cornerback as well. So yeah, dude, I can see this team actually getting pretty competitive in the sixth season, I guess it will be, because we're heading into year 5. But year 6, we should actually be a pretty decent team all around. Mike McCown is our sophomore, up to a 71 at free safety. Not too great here, but the safety position's kind of been an albatross for the last couple seasons, so we can't be all that shocked. And yeah, we need a strong safety, man. If we can get one, we desperately need one. Yeah, at least we're going to be losing Carlin Lloyd to graduation, but Wilbert Taylor we'll have for a couple more years. He might get up to like a 68, 69 at the most, which is not great. So we really need to get something figured out here at strong safety because we got nothing going on right now. Lou Bearden up to a 71, of course, and then Baraja Chapman, our punter, up to a 64, as if it matters to anyone. So that's how the roster's going to shake down here. We don't have a lot of like older guys. Like it's still a very young roster. That's why we're not losing a lot of guys to graduation because we're rebuilding from scratch. So, but we have a lot of young guys here, and I think we can kind of build on this foundation that we have. Again, I don't know if we have the talent for this year. I don't know what the expectation is because I still don't think being an independent, like 6-6, 7-5, I don't think will get us a bowl game, just period. We need an at-large, and so we need to actually be like pretty darn good to get that, and I don't think 6-6 and 7-5 will do it. I don't even know if 8-4 will do it. So we'll have to just keep a pin on that. And so I'm not really sure what the expectation is, but I guess coaching a 500 or better season is probably where we need to look. So now we're going to look over the schedule here. Okay, so Louisiana Tech, TCU, Buffalo, Navy. I kind of like this schedule here. Okay, let me fool around with it here, and then we'll, of course, we'll go over it before I run the sim. Okay, we'll flip through it. We'll flip through this real quickly here. So, the schedule that it gave me actually wasn't terrible. It was actually like a decent, like kind of schedule, like an easy enough schedule for us. And I think a lot of these teams are about on our caliber. So, like we'll check it here. We're coming in slotted at 95, which I think is a little bit brutal. I think it's a little rough here. I don't think we're the 95th worst team in all of college football here. But anyway, we'll head through it now. So we started things off with Louisiana Tech at home in Durham, and then we also have TCU. TCU's probably going to be a bit of a rough game here. We probably lose that one pretty convincingly, but I think these are both probably losable games. And then we have Houston on the road and Navy and Ball State. We should be able to win all 3 of these games, but we will see how that goes. Then we have Troy State, kind of our like independent rival, which we lost last year close, 17-20. We should be able to beat the Trojans this season. I'm hoping, I'm trying to book it here that we beat Troy State, but they are coming in ranked a little bit higher than we are. But I think all 4 of these games should be wins. I added ECU to the schedule here just to try and keep the in-state stuff going here. Since we're not in a conference, there's no obligation to keep North Carolina or Wake Forest on the schedule, but I'm at least going to try and play one of those schools every year. But ECU is, again, still slotted as a better team than we are, so this is probably a loss. Then we have the Bulls here of USF, and then we have UAB as well at home. Then we have Louisiana Monroe at home. I tried to keep a lot of Sunbelt teams since the Sunbelt was really bad last year. I'm trying to keep a lot of Sunbelt teams around. Rutgers was also pretty bad in the Big East, so we're going to be playing them. And then we finish things off with BYU on the road. So that is how the season's going to slot. So I think, again, most teams on our schedule are probably better than we are heading into it, but I still think there's a good number of like winnable games here. So we're just going to see here if we can get about 5 or 6 games kind of won here. I don't know. I could probably make this a little bit easier. I don't have an FCS game on here. I could probably put one on to at least kind of inflate the wins a little bit, because we need to stay competitive. Like if this is going to continue to work, we have to win. We can't just keep winning a handful of games here. Like 4 to 6 cannot be the win total. Like we have to be able to fudge about 7 or 8 wins somewhere, like one season. So I'm actually going to look over this one more time here, and I'm going to see if I can add maybe an easier game or so, and I'll check back in. Okay, the only changes I made here is I added an FCS game in James Madison, removed Louisiana Tech, and then, of course, I wanted to add the North Carolina rivalry at least. I feel like this one needs to be capped here. So we have ECU and also North Carolina on the schedule. North Carolina is still pretty bad here. They're coming in the 80s here at 82, but I think that should still be maybe a winnable game. It is possible. So that's how the schedule is going to rack here. We're going to try and win at least 7 games. That's what I'm hoping for. I think there are 7 winnable games on this schedule right now. Whether or not we win 7 games, that's a completely separate thing. A completely separate thing, but I think there are 7 games at least on the schedule that can be won. That certainly can be won. I'm going to look over the coaching strategy again one more time here. So again, we're going really heavy on the pass, and I have sub more up. I think I'm actually going to sub less a little bit, because I think I don't think we have like as much depth at either position that I would like. I don't want to cycle in a bunch of receivers and running backs. I kind of want to keep our top 2 guys and the receiving core, and then our top running back. I want them to get a majority of the reps and the snaps, and I think that's probably how we're going to get a little bit better here. I might tone down how aggressive we are as well, just kind of keep it in the middle, because I don't think being super aggressive is really helping us out. That's how we get a lot of turnovers for holding our quarterback. And I think we need to be a little bit more smarter on offense rather than gung-ho. On defense, though, I am going to sub more on defense, because I think we have a lot of rotational pieces that are probably a little bit more helpful. I'm going to up how aggressive we are as well, and then keep the balance here again at 50-50, because I don't think there's really a whole lot of anything that we do a lot better on running or passing. I think we're pretty consistent with both of them. So that's the coaching strategy we're going to run. And now I'm going to save, and we're going to run the sim, folks. I'll chime back in once we have run the season. Okay, I think I've kind of screwed the order in which I typically do this here, but we do have your Heisman results here at the end of our season. We still have an unnamed player, so we still have an unnamed player, believe it or not, here. It's probably the last of them. All the redshirt seniors are finally leaving here, but running back for Stanford, whoever you are, come on down. You won the Heisman. Congratulations. Moving forward here, and we did finish 5-7, so I guess I'm going to simulate through the bowl games. I think maybe that's typically what I do. I don't know. I can't remember. We're not going to a bowl game, so it doesn't matter here, so I'll just quickly sim through those, but we did finish 5-7, and it's kind of interesting here. I thought about maybe like, should we roll with it? But we're definitely going to roll with it here. Like I said, I feel like we're kind of like a year off in terms of like really competing. I think next year's going to be it, dude. Year 6 is going to be that freaking year. I just think we're going to be there. I just believe it. I believe it in my plums. Maybe you guys don't believe it in your plums like I believe it in mine. Oh, wow, look at here. Looky here, we already got a contract extension. Look at here. Oh my God, we got a contract extension. I can't believe this. Can you believe this? I'm cheesing ear to ear right now. I had no idea. I was just trying to fill time while the Bulls were simulating. But look at this. We got a contract extension. We didn't even we didn't even finish the contract of the first contract. But we have a contract extension. I cannot believe that. So they're going to give us another couple seasons here. I think next season is going to be the year. So even if they didn't give us this extension, I think year 3 of our first contract would for sure be the year that I think we earned the second one. I think we'd at least get to another one with Fred Kirk. But we at least got extended here. So we didn't get extended the first 3 seasons. We won't talk about that era. Okay, we're just gonna forget it. It's not real. They can't hurt us anymore. But Fred Kirk things are already turned around. And when you think about it, I mean, that's 11 wins in 2 seasons at Duke. That is something that has not happened like in this era, like at all. So we've maintained the team prestige, got it back up to 2 stars here, and we're almost over 500 here all time. So we're definitely gonna take this here and except our extension here, and then we're going to take a look over our schedule real quick because it is a mixed bag. So we did beat James Madison in an FCS game. We actually won it how we're supposed to, so that's a good sign. But we did lose to North Carolina in a close one here. North Carolina was probably about as on par with us as we are here. They ended up finished ranked below us, but damn, they lost 5 games to end the year. That's bad. But we had a pretty brutal losing streak to start the season. We did last year too, man. We lost a few games in a row, but these are all bad losses to take here. A 1-possession loss to Houston, who wasn't all that good this year. A 1-point loss to Navy, who was a little bit better than we were, and then this loss to Ball State we definitely probably should have had. Maybe if that game's in Durham, we win it. I don't know. Big win over Troy State, a big statement win over the Trojans here. And then also another huge win over ECU, who was actually pretty darn good this year. So that's a huge win for us as well. And then got blown out by USF, which is kind of odd. Again, these road games just really rough for us. We were not a good team on the road at all this year, which is probably the big missing link here. But then we lose a close one to UAB, who was also a pretty decent team this year. Then we pick up the win against Louisiana Monroe, which we had to have. Lose a close one here to Rutgers here, lose by 8 points, but Rutgers also pretty decent. And then we picked up a huge win against the Cougars at the end of the season as well. So I like the games that we managed to win here. I like this win against BYU. I think the ECU win is also pretty massive. The Troy State win, just as far as independent stuff goes, I think is pretty cool too. But outside of that, there's not a ton of impressive wins on this schedule. And there's a lot of wins I think we could have had. So that's why I was saying, before I ran the sim, there's definitely at least 7 or 8 wins on this schedule the way it is, as easy as it is. So going 5-7 is kind of disheartening here, but again, I think the talent-wise, I think we're budding. I think we're I think we're right there, guys. I really do believe I think we're right there. I think we can figure it out. So let's quickly look at the stats here and then get on out of here. So looking over our season stats, okay, so it looks like we had 2 quarterbacks here taking a lot of the reps. Holman really kind of stepping back in his junior season. It's his worst season so far at quarterback for us. The completion percentage is close to where it was last season, but the yardage is down considerably here. Looks like he lost, a few games, which we can see from Ellison's numbers, and then the touchdown INT numbers are close to where they were in his freshman season, but the INTs are still going down. Every year they've gone down, so his senior season should be really freaking good if he does come back. And then Andrew Ellison, got on, did what he had to do, man. Not a terrible little show for him in a few games potentially, but he did what he had to do. So running the football here, Josh Livingston almost cracks that 1,000-yard mark. He gets right back up to where he was in his freshman season. It's really identical to his freshman season. Really hoping for him to take that next step. I was really kind of dedicating a lot of the touches for him because I was expecting him to do that, and he didn't really do it this season. So not all that great, but we'll take it. And then also Dion Godsey also got over 200 yards and a few touchdowns, so that's something to look at. Receiving-wise, awesome. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Both Patrick Fleming and Omari Smalley over 1,100 yards this season here. 16 touchdowns between the two of them. This is good stuff, man. This is what we got to see. But the big thing, and this is kind of what I was leaning towards against not subbing as much, nobody else was contributing at all. And receiving, nobody else was contributing. So this looks great up here, these top 2 guys, but, no one else is catching anything. So our passing statistics on the season are probably going to look really, really bad when we look at the stat rankings because there's absolutely nothing else happening outside of Patrick Fleming and Smalley. So, offensive line here. So, Marquise Hatcher in his freshman season, pretty good year, man. 23 pancakes, only 7 sacks. We'll take it. Tony Darnell, also, of course, one of our best offensive linemen, period. Had a great season as well. 21 pancakes and 7 sacks. J.J. Johnson, kind of a mixed bag. I guess you'll take that. Doubling the amount of pancakes as he allows sacks, so I guess we'll take that. Everyone else, not really anything else to talk about. So, we only had 2 or 3 solid offensive line performances, but still, you'd like to see a little bit more pancakes, a little bit more physicality up front. Keon McMullen, man. Give me some flowers as coach, man. Give me some flowers as coach making that call to start him this season. Had an absolutely amazing breakout freshman season. Gets freshman All-American honors, 100 tackles, 100 even, baby. Just a buck, a $1. 16 TFLs as well, and 9 sacks. The dude was everywhere. And 3 INTs. Dude's a freaking monster, man. We will be definitely focusing on what McMullen does in the coming seasons because he had himself an amazing year. And then, of course, we can't even overlook Chucky Gordon, man. Another freshman had an amazing year, 95 tackles and 12 TFLs. Only 1 sack, but, also 3 INTs. So, again, we'll take that. It's a mixed bag. We had a lot of disruptive guys defensively, so I'm pretty happy about what the defense did here. And then we also had another 9-sack haver in Kevin Molina on the defensive line. Not super shocked about what he's doing for us here. And then, of course, we have, as far as interceptions go, only 3 is going to lead it. So it looks like 3 is what's going to lead it for us here. So, but that's fine. But it's still the fact that it's 2 linebackers, that's not great. Especially when we have, like, decent cornerbacks. Yeah, that's not awesome. I was going to try and overlook that, but I don't think I really can. And then Lou Bearden finally has, like, a decent season, like, an actual, like, good season. And we still had a couple games that were lost by just 1 possession of field goals. So maybe that's, still him. I don't know if we can blame him on that. Last year we definitely could. In the year before we definitely could, but we are losing him, so it's fitting that in his last season he finally puts together a decent kicking campaign, because outside of that I don't know if we're going to get it. I don't think we'll get it anywhere else. So let's look now at the stat rankings, and then we're going to get on out of here. So offensively, a little bit of numbers here, close to 50 here. Yards per game, we were inside the top 50. I'll take that. Passing yards per game, we were actually close to the top 10. I'm actually shocked about that. But rushing, still not great, man. Even though we definitely dedicated a little bit more time to running the football, not in terms of our balance of what we do, but just, keeping one running back didn't really matter that much here. Points per game and passing touchdowns here, we were inside, 30th. I was going to say inside the top 30, but we are 30th. Rushing touchdowns at 82nd. First downs at 80. Not great either. Sacks allowed, kind of getting a little bit lower there. Red zone, not awful either. So we're actually pretty good in the red zone. It's probably our best season in the red zone, I think, since taking over. So offense actually wasn't terrible. So, and even defense, wow, look at these. These are all pretty low numbers. So 44th in yards per game. Our passing defense was actually pretty solid too. Same with rushing. We were right around that mid-range 50, man. So I'm not really sure where things kind of fell apart. I mean, obviously the interceptions is bad. We had a lot of fumbles, but not a lot of picks. So maybe the turnover numbers are pretty bad. But again, Holden didn't throw like a ton of interceptions, so I'm not entirely sure. We're gonna see exactly where things kind of fell apart. And our red zone defense was freaking amazing, dude. We were 3rd in red zone percentage, man. Only 68% of the time offenses were scoring on our defense in the red zone. That is incredible. I have no idea why we were so bad. I'm really struggling to figure it out, why we were so bad. Even efficiency, man, compared to where we've been, this is not terrible at all. 49% on 3rd down, or 44%, which gets us 49th in the country. So for a team like us, it's not awful. I mean, I really don't think it's all that bad. Penalties, ooh, we were really heavily penalized. That's not great. That's not good at all. Maybe that's the outlier stat. I'm looking for it, guys. I'm looking for that stat that just like jumps at me in the face and it's like, hey, this is why we were bad. And I'm really struggling to find it. Obviously, the turnover stuff, yeah, takeaways at 96. That's probably our worst stat. I mean, outside of interceptions alone as an isolated stat, but even the turnover differential is not terrible, dude. 64th, we'll take that. I'm really struggling to find out why we lost games, dude. So maybe we were just the team of like almost. I mean, we were just a competitive team, but just kept finding ways to lose. I don't know. So that's got to be cleaned up for year 3. I think we're going to be a better team for year 3, so I'm not worried about it. I think we'll be okay. I think we will correct it. So in the next video, of course, we're going to be looking over that stuff. I'm going to, of course, record the standings and whatnot, and I will be sure to show you guys in case anything falls apart like the Sun Belt did last year. But outside of that, that's going to be the end of it here. I try to get these videos close to 20, but I've rambled the last 2 up to 30, so I'm going to try and speed it up next time. I'm sorry about that, but thank you guys so much for watching here. We're going to get into year 6. We have a contract extension on the books already, so the Fred Kirk era is rolling, dude. Rolling with some steam here. So hope to see you guys in the next episode when we cover the offseason and, of course, year number 6. Hopefully we can finally make a bowl game. I'm hoping so. That's what I'm putting it at. I'm building that optimism. I think a bowl game is possible, but we will find out in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching.